All right, guys, and welcome back to 1908. This is the final game of the day on May 27th, 1908. The Cleveland Naps are in Washington, D.C., taking on the Senators. We'll look at the standings here really quickly. The Naps at 22-13, barely holding on to the first place lead above the Athletics at 23-16, and the Browns 22-16. Philadelphia, of course, won the other day, and they are on a tear. And the Red Sox, too, 3 games behind, might be able to come back up and have a say about what happens in the end. The Senators in 7th place at 15-22, and that's really not a huge surprise. And before we get into this one, though, I did want to take a look here at a couple of things in the paper. First of all, we'll take a look at the standings from this day on May 27th, 1908. As reported in the Washington Evening Star, the Senators were dead last, 12-19. Cleveland, meanwhile, was 18-13, and they were chasing, imagine this, the New York Highlanders. Now, you know what I think about the Highlanders of 1908. The National League and American League races were very, very close at that time. The Chicago had a little bit of a lead in the National League, and the Giants in real life, 16-16, were not quite as close and they weren't doing as well as they're doing now for us. Interestingly enough, too, there are also the Union League standings, as Washington did have a team in the short-lived Union League, a league that you're not going to find in your baseball history books because they didn't complete a season. We'll keep our eyes on the Union League as it falls apart. One more thing to look at, now that we're done with that, is this article. So this is a very, very little snippet that you used to see back in the pre-World War I sports newspapers. This, again, comes from the Washington Evening Star. Tomorrow's game, that would be on the 28th, you'll see that a little bit later on, will be started at 2:30 instead of 4:30. And the fans must govern themselves accordingly. The Nationals must leave here at 5:30 so as to be in Boston in time for Friday's game. It will be the last contest in the city for over a month, and a good crowd should turn out to speed the boys and wish them luck on their long journey. That's right. For the so-called day game, the normal local starting time was 4:30 p.m., and that game was moved up on that Thursday to 2:30 to allow the Nationals to hit the train in order to get to Boston in time. And so with that in mind, we're going to go ahead with this game. I'm going to do more work here in the future looking at the time the game started back in those days. It's a lot later than we usually think, and so there's a bit of research to do, but I think there's a lot of interesting things that will come out of this. It'll be Josh Clark here hitting now leadoff for the Naps up against Smith. They call Charlie Smith Hard Luck Smith in the Washington papers. He's got a 1-8 record with a 3.54 ERA, and the roll for Clark's a 53-4-15 changed in 18, and that's going to be a ground ball to McBride, and he bobbles that one for an error. That means that Clark is able to reach first base, and that'll bring up Bill Bradley. Clark now hitting, Bradley now hitting 205. Clark, I'm looking at, trying to do 2 things at once. He has 2 11s, and we are going to hit and run instead of bunting. The roll is a 32 for a 26. It's a ground ball over to second. Delahanty fields it and throws to first for the out. Clark moves up to second, and here comes Napoleon LaJoie hitting 270. He's driven in 15, and the roll is a 63 for a 31. It's a fly ball over to center, and Milan has that for the out, 2 away. Up now is George Stovall. Stovall's roll is a 32 for a 26, which, of course, is a little ground ball over to second base, fielded easily by Delahanty, who throws to first for the out. And we will go now to the bottom of the first inning. Still no score. Otis Clymer up here for the Senators, hitting 284. His roll is a 15 for an 11. That'll be a single to left, and then he winds up with a stolen base out of that. And that brings up Bob Ganley. Ganley hitting 264. Is driven in 13, and he has a chance right away. So Heine Berger, we haven't even introduced to you yet. 3-3 is his record with a 1.34 ERA. At 3.5 doesn't seem so impressive now, does it? Ganley rolls a 22 for an 8. That's a comebacker over to Berger, who throws to first for the out, and Clymer scoots over to third. 1 away, and here's Jim Delahanty. And Jim rolls a 33 for a 7. That'll be a single to left, and that scores the runner. That brings up now Jerry Freeman, 1-0 Senators. And so here comes Freeman hitting 218. And amazing to see Washington on top of this one. Freeman's roll 65 for a 35. There is a little E-roll. It's going to be a 56 out of the range. It's a pop-up over to the catcher. Clark has that one for the out, 2 away. And here comes George McBride. McBride rolls an 11 for a 7. That's a single to right center field. And unfortunately for the Senators, Birmingham's got a good arm. Throws over to Bradley, and he catches Delahanty trying to sneak over to third base. But the damage has been done. The Senators do score 1 run on 3 hits. We go to the top of the second inning, and it's a 1-0 lead. Here now is Jay Clark. Clark, the catcher for Cleveland, rolls a 12 for a 25. It's a ground ball over to second. It'll be Delahanty fielding that, throwing to first, 1 away. Joe Birmingham now. He rolls a 42 for a 13. That's going to be a strikeout. And so Smith gets the strikeout, his 20th of the season. 2 away, and here's Bill Hinchman. Hinchman's roll a 65 for a 35 is a pop-up on the infield. Freeman, the first baseman, is underneath that one. He makes the catch for the out. We go to the bottom of the second inning now, still 1-0 Senators. Bill Shipka up there hitting 263, the third baseman. He rolls a 65 for a 35. It's a pop-up to the left side, and Bill Bradley has that in foul ground, 1 away. Gabby Street is hitting 115. His rolls a 41 for a 28. Grounder over to Hinchman, who throws to first, and there's 2 away, and that batting average somehow continues to go down. 2 out, and here's Clyde Milan. And he rolls a 63 for a 31. It's a fly ball over to center field, and it'll be Birmingham making that catch for the out. We go to the top of the third inning. It's still a 1-0 lead for the Senators. Here is Charlie Hickman. He rolls a 21 for a 30. Fly ball over to left. Ganley's there for the out, 1 away. Heine Berger now. Pitcher comes up there, rolls a 56 for a 34. There is a little E-roll, and it's a 26, just out of the range. Pop up over to the shortstop McBride, who squeezes it for the out, 2 away. And here comes Josh Clark. His rolls a 43 for a 29. It's a comebacker over to Smith, who throws to first for the out. And so we go now to the bottom of the third inning, still 1-0 for the Senators. And up comes Charlie Smith, the pitcher. Smith rolls a 33 for an 8. That's a ground ball over to the shortstop Hinchman, who throws to first, 1 away. Otis Clymer now, and he rolls a 66 for a 0. His next roll is a 51 for a 5. That'll be a double hit over first base, over the outstretched glove of Stovall, and Clymer in there at second base easily with the 4th hit of the game for the Senators. That'll bring up Bob Ganley once again with Clymer on at second base. So Clymer now 2 for 2. And Bob's rolls a 52 for a 27. It's a ground ball over to third. Bradley fields that and throws to first for the out, 2 away. Here's Jim Delahanty. Jim rolls a 51 for an 8. That'll be a comebacker back to the pitcher. Berger throws to first for the out, and that does it for the Senators in the third. Go to the top of the fourth inning, and it's a 1-0 lead still for Washington. Here comes Bill Bradley. Bradley hitting 203. His roll 51 for a 9. That's a pop-up over to the left side, and it'll be an easy play there for Shipka, 1 away. Here comes LaJoie. Rolls a 25 for an 8, and there's a single to left center field. That's the first hit of the game for Cleveland. And that will bring up George Stovall. LaJoie, not that fast anymore, by the way, and we're not going to have him hit and run. Stovall, I think, will try to bunt. And the roll is 62 for a 12. There is, however, a little E-roll. It's a 22 within the range, and so that's going to end up being a bunt back to the pitcher, Smith, who picks it up and then fumbles it and drops it. And so it will count as a bunt in the box score and an error on the Senators, their second. That'll bring up now Jay Clark with runners on at first and second. He's hitting 241. He's driven in 5. His roll of 55 for an 8, and that's a single over short that scores 1, and Stovall goes over to second. And here come the Naps. Up comes Joe Birmingham, 1-1 tie. Birmingham's roll 56 for a 34. It's a pop-up over to the left. Shipka makes the catch for the out. There's 2 away, and here comes Bill Hinchman. And Bill's roll is a 41 for a 28. Ground ball over to short. McBride fields that, flips over to Delahanty for the force. And so we go now to the bottom of the fourth inning. It's a 1-1 tie. Here is Jerry Freeman for the hometown Senators. Freeman 0 for 1 today. Rolls a 34 for a 44. It's a fly ball to center. Birmingham has that 1 away. George McBride up there now. He rolls a 12 for a 25. There's a little E-roll to worry about. It's a 45 out of the range. Ground ball over to second, and it'll be LaJoie grabbing that, throwing to first, and there's 2 away. Here's Bill Shipka now, and he rolls a 41 for a 28. Ground ball to short. Hinchman fields that one and goes to first for the out. And we go now to the top of the fifth. 1-1 tie, and here is Charlie Hickman. Charlie rolls a 32 for a 26. Ground ball over to second. Delahanty fields it, throws to first. One away. Heine Berger now. And he rolls a 66 for a 6. It's going to be hit over to right center field. That one gets between Milan and Clymer. Goes to the wall, and Berger lumbers into second base with a double. That'll bring up Josh Clark, and now Charlie Smith really in trouble. Clark, a good hitter. He's 0 for 2. Did reach a board and an error to begin this game. And he rolls a 33 for an 8, and there's a single over second, and that'll score the pitcher. And so Clark gets it done, and that brings up Bill Bradley. 2-1 now at Naps. And here comes Bradley ready to bunt. The roll is 62 for a 12. There is, however, a little E-roll. It's a 21 within the range. It's another error on the Naps. I'm sorry, on the Senators, and that's another error by Charlie Smith, as that was bunted back to him, and he couldn't pick it up again. So hard luck Charlie Smith getting his second error of this game. Runners now on first and second with one out, top of the fifth, and here comes Napoleon LaJoie. He's hitting .273, 15 driven in. Hasn't been as powerful this season so far as he has in the past. And his roll is a 46 for a 13, and he strikes out. 2 away, and Smith gets his second strikeout. That'll bring up George Stovall. George rolls a 14 for a 43. There's a fly ball over to left field, and it'll be easily played by Gainley. And so we go to the bottom of the fifth inning. The score, however, 2-1 in favor of Cleveland. Here comes Gabby Street to lead this off for the Senators. Gabby Street, and you got to wonder how much longer they're going to stick with him as the starting catcher. He rolls a 15 for a 9. There's a single over short, so he must have heard what I was saying. That'll bring up Clyde Milan, and Milan's going to bunt. Roll 32 for a 26 is a good bunt over to the right side. Stovall fields it, flips over to LaJoie. Street moves over to second. With one away, here is Charlie Smith. Smith hitting .040. Rolls a 62 for a 12, and he strikes out, and there's 2 away. First strikeout recorded by Heine Berger. That'll bring up Otis Clymer now with the runner in scoring position. 2-1, Cleveland with the lead. Bottom of the fifth. The roll 36 for a 30. It's a fly ball over to left field, and Clark has that one easily for the out. Go now to the top of the sixth inning, and it remains a 2-1 lead in favor of the Naps. And here comes Jay Clark, the catcher. He rolls a 24 for a 13, and down he goes swinging. And there's one away. It's Charlie Smith with his third strikeout. Here comes Joe Birmingham. The roll of 21 for a 30. It's a fly ball to left, and Gainley has that for the out. 2 away. Here now is Bill Hinchman. Hinchman's roll of 41 for a 28. Ground ball over to short. McBride fields that one. He throws to first for the out. Quick inning. We go to the bottom of the sixth. It's still 2-1. Here is Bob Gainley. Bob hitting .260. His roll is a 12 for a 24. There is a little E-roll. And it's a 53 out of the range. So it's a ground ball over to short. Hinchman fields that and throws to first, and there's one away. Jim Delahanty now. Delahanty rolls a 43 for a 29. It's a comebacker to Berger, who throws to first, and there's 2 gone. Jerry Freeman. He rolls a 32 for a 26. Ground ball over to second. LaJoie's got that, and he throws to first for the out. And so we go to the top of the seventh inning. It's still a 2-1 lead for the visitors. Cleveland with the 2-1 lead. Here's Charlie Hickman. Hickman today is 0 for 2. He's hitting .111. His roll is a 51 for a 9, and there's a pop-up over to the left side, and Shipka fields that for the out. 1 away. Heine Berger now. The pitcher's 1 for 2. He rolls a 25 for a 13, and down he goes on strikes. 4th strikeout for Charlie Smith. Not such a bad pitcher, but he's losing. Josh Clark now. He rolls a 66 for a 0. And it'll be a 45 for a 6. That's another double to right center field. And so he has a single and a double now, and also reached a board on an error. It brings up Bill Bradley now with 2 men out. The roll for Bradley, 62 for a 12, and that's another strikeout for Charlie Smith. He gets his 5th. So we go to the bottom of the 7th inning. It'll be George McBride here trying to help out the hometown Senators, down by a run. McBride is 1 for 2. He singled his first time up. The roll a 44 for an 8. That's a ground ball over to short, and Hinchman fields that and throws to first. 1 away. Bill Shipka comes back up there. 0 for 2 is Bill. Rolls a 32 for a 26. A ground ball to second, and LaJoie has that and throws to first. 2 away. Here comes Gabby Street. And Street rolls a 62 for a 12. There is a little E-roll, however. It's a 23. It's within that range, just barely, and so that ends up being a single to right, and Street makes second base as Hickman fumbled that one. And so the potential tying run now in scoring position here for Clyde Milan. Milan, the center fielder, hitting 191 and doing a pretty poor job of that. And the rule is a 26 for a 30. It's a fly ball over to left, and Clark has that one easily for the out. And we go now to the top of the 8th inning. This has been a fast ball game. 5 hits for both teams. 2-1 the score. Here comes Napoleon LaJoie, who's 1 for 3. His roll 55 for a 7, and there's a single to right field. And so LaJoie figures out a way to get on. Here now is George Stovall with a runner on at first. We've said it before, LaJoie not particularly fast, and so they're going to bunt. Roll 14 for a 43, and it's a good bunt to the left side. Shipka fields that, throws over to Delahanty covering at first. LaJoie makes it to second. There's one away, and here's Jay Clark. He's 1 for 3. And his roll is a 66 for a 0. And then a 44 for a 2, and that'll be a triple to deep center field. Clark makes it easily to third, and that makes this a 3-1 ball game, and that'll bring up Joe Birmingham. And Charlie Smith just not getting it done. Here comes Birmingham. He rolls a 21 for a 30, and there's a fly ball to left field, and it's deep enough. Gainley makes the catch, but Clark is able to score. It is now a 4-1 lead, and here comes Bill Hinchman. Hinchman rolls a 34 for a 44. It's a fly ball over to center field. Milan has that one easily for the out. And we go now to the bottom of the 8th inning. The Senators need a miracle. Here's Charlie Smith, the pitcher, and we'll leave him in. He leads this off, rolls a 62 for a 12. There is a little E-roll. It's a 53, so it's out of the range. There's a little ground ball over to Stovall, who fields it and goes to first base himself, 1 away. Otis Clymer now. And his roll is 66 for a 0. Next roll is 33 for a 2. That'll be hit to left center field, and that's an easy triple for Clymer. Up now is Bob Gainley with a runner on at third base and 1 out, bottom of the 8th. We'll have Bob swing away. And the roll 63 for a 31. Fly ball to center field. Birmingham makes the catch. Clymer not quite fast enough to score. 2 away, and here comes Jim Delahanty. And he rolls a 15 for an 11, and there's the single to center, and that'll score the runner. Jim then is able to steal second base with Freeman up there, and it's a 4-2 lead. So here is Jerry Freeman, who's 0 for 3. And his roll is a 33 for a 7. That's a single to right, and he drives one in, and it's a 4-3 ball game. How about that? So Freeman gets his first base hit, and they're batting around Heine Berger now. Here comes George McBride with the runner on at first. Rolls a 52 for a 27. Ground ball over to third. Bradley fields it, flips over to LaJoie covering at second base for the out. We go now to the top of the 9th inning, and it'll be Charlie Hickman to lead this off here for Cleveland. Hickman, Berger, and then Clark. Cleveland with a 4-3 lead. Hickman rolls a 36 for a 33. There is a little E-roll. It's a 22 within the range. That'll be an error on the third baseman, Shipka, that's changed to a 19. And so Hickman makes it to first, and here comes Berger in an obvious bunting situation. His roll 51 for a 13, and that's a strike. We'll try it again. 32 now for a 26 is a bunt over to the first base side, and it'll be Freeman fielding that, flipping it over to Delahanty covering at the bag. Hickman moves to second. And with 1 away, here is Josh Clark. Clark's rolls a 43 for a 29. Ground ball over to first. Freeman fields that, flips over to Smith. And there's 2 away. Here now is Bill Bradley. Top of the 9th, 4-3 ball game. The roll by Bradley is a 22 for an 8. That's a single over second base, and that scores him, and that'll make it a 5-3 lead. And here comes Napoleon LaJoie. He rolls a 21 for a 30. It's a fly ball over to center field. Milan has that one for the out. And so we proceed here to the bottom of the 9th. It'll be Bill Shipka to lead this off. Shipka rolls a 35 for a 39, changed to a 23, and that's going to be an error on the catcher Clark, as there was a wild throw on the swinging bunt by Shipka. So Clark overthrows the first baseman, and that'll bring up now Gabby Street. And this is a real difficult position for the Senators to be in. Street has reached board twice, got a single, and made it to second on an error, though I'm pretty sure that should have counted as a single plus an error. Actually, no, that was a 2-base error on the right fielder, if I remember the somewhat arcane Skeetersoft rules correctly. So Street has reached base twice, is 1 for 3, not 2 for 3. We'll swing away with him. And the roll is a 44 for an 8. That's a ground ball over to Bradley. The third baseman throws to first for the out, and Shipka moves over to second, 1 away. Here now is Clyde Milan. He's driven in 11. 0 for 2 today, and he did bunt once. And his roll 33 for a 7, and there is the single to right. That'll score a run. and that makes this a 5-4 game. And so that brings up Charlie Smith, the pitcher, and it's time to go look at the bench. And there's not a whole bunch to choose from here on the bench. I think it's going to be Ollie Pickering who comes into this game. So we'll bring in Pickering as a pinch hitter. Milan does have an 11, so we'll try the hit and run. Heine Berger will stay in there, though he's down to a C. Pickering hitting 190. And his role is a 34-4-44, and that's a single to right center field, and that'll put runners on at the corners. And that's the secret of Skeetersoft. When you roll that 44, when you're doing a hit and run, it's a base hit. Either a 31 or a 44 will do it. And so here comes the infield in on Clymer. Clymer today is 3 for 4, and he's singled, doubled, and tripled. So home run, and he gets the cycle. He does technically have the ability to do that, but the chances are pretty low. He will swing away with 1 out. The infield comes in. And the roll from Clymer is a 54-4-45. There is, however, a little E-roll to worry about. And it's a 15, which is within the error range. That's changed to 17, and that's going to be a single to right field that will score 1. And the runner at first stops on second base, but then he ends up scoring on a errant throw by Hickman, the right fielder. So a poor throw by Hickman, and that does it. Senators end up with 3 in the bottom of the 9th to win this game 6-5, shocking the Naps. And man, oh man, what a finish that one was. The Senators wind up getting 3 runs when they were down and out. And so bad luck for Smith ends up turning into the best of good luck. And that's how this one ends up. Hope you enjoyed this one. Senators win this game 6-5 in a miraculous 9th inning miracle. A miraculous finish that saw another error by the Cleveland Naps, and that one was a really, really costly error. I hope you enjoyed this one. I'll talk with you again tomorrow. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.